Parts of this documentary contains graphic pictures or videos. Viewers' discretion is advised. It's been 2 weeks since renewed attacks sprung up in Jos. I journeyed to Plateau State to see the state of things. With the addition of old and recent attacks, it's left the state littered with IDP camps to house displaced persons whose homes have been destroyed by herdsmen. And so life goes on here. Well, for those who managed to make it out alive, that is. As I sit with this victim of the attack, she narrates the terrors she faced and the losses that came with it.
The house my husband was in was burnt, and he spent 5 days in the hospital, after which he passed away. I was able to escape, but with nothing from the house, only the clothes I was wearing that day. My present clothes was given to me at the IDP camp.
And so here they are, trying to recuperate. The ones that chose to come to IDP camps. Some believe they're not cut out for life in the camps. But even for the ones here, the incidents which led them to this camp are not far from their mind. They linger like a shallow wind.
They threw me on the floor and used the stick to hit me on my leg, and used the cutlass to injure me, and some of them used a stick to hit my neck and back before they later left me.
As herdsmen burns down the house of Cynthia Solomon, she recalls holding on to her baby like grim death. She had to muffle her baby's cries to prevent the herdsmen from killing them. Under the safety of the IDP camp, Cynthia is now spared of that apprehension and hands me her bundle of joy. She watches with a slight smile as her baby giggles. The close call to losing her still not far from her mind.
They called me and said I should come out with the child, after which I obliged and then saw 10 men standing outside. They used a cutlass to hit me on the head, after which I fainted. When I woke up, I started asking and shouting, "Where are my kids?" and saw all of them alive.
And so because of the trauma Cynthia and others similarly face, a trauma unit needs to be set up to help them heal. But that's not all. The facility needs a lot more. It's currently housing over 2,000 persons, more than it's capable of holding.
I think the state government have tried, and even today we are bringing some of the materials because we did the first one. We had the first one. 1 week ago, we were here on Saturday and today, because we come in to know some of the gaps that are here. So we try to mend this gap, try to cover these gaps by, like now we have this tank, the tank that is just behind you. We brought it because of their water needs. We want them to get sufficient water. So as the number continue to swell up, we are adding another additional tank today and about 40 mattresses.
And what are some of the challenges faced in a place like this?
The challenges is just we have security, their health needs. Despite that, we have some health personnel that are around. We have that. We have also things like their toilets. I think there is need for a proper, very good toilet, at least mobile toilet, and which the government is trying to provide that. This place is not meant for them, so we only borrow it. So they are pressing us that we should try and relocate them. The plan is we are looking for one camp that has just been vacated by the refugees that came from Taraba. So we were hosting them in that camp, but there is need for renovation, and I think the government will put everything in place in order to move them from this place to that camp. It is at Zang Commercial. There is informal education that is taking place by some group of NGOs. They come in and maybe make the children, gather them in one place and then give them informal education. And then we also have psychosocial therapies, mostly National Association of Social Workers. They also come in here to at least play the role of trying to help them to overcome their challenges.
We are here as community leaders. These are our people. And these are the remnants, the ones that managed, to escape. And we brought them into this facility, this temporary temporary camp. So we are here basically to see to their well-being and to get to know their problems. And that's how we find ourselves as leaders in this camp. Leaders from the community, who are mounting different departments. Kitchen, they fetch water, they clean the place, and so on. But the challenges we are facing here, this small IDP camp is housing about 2,300 people. Mostly about 613 children. If you go, you can see them behind there. Now these are children that really they were in school. Now they move in from morning till night, nothing to do. Psychologically they are down. They don't get balanced food to eat. Yes, individuals have been bringing in by way of support. Now these children they bring rice, gari, and these children, there are pregnant women in this facility. There are nursing mothers. There are small children. They need balanced food. They don't have it in this facility. These children need to have lessons. They need their education to continue. They don't have it. Women who are sick here, the aged, they are here. They don't have medical facility. Thank God today we have, you can see, those medical people.
Right now, hope can be as fickle as a feather for these people.
The life is frustrating. There is a lot of problem. Before you had a good standard of living, but now even proper meal is hard to get. Look around all these old people. They have not eaten anything since morning. This is a problem and not luxury.
I met the head of Living Faith who is touring the IDP camps, and I asked him how he's helping to instill hope in these people at such a grim time.
We came in here to come to identify with the Christians who are in the IDP camp here. We've been to Barking Ladi, and from here we'll be going to some other place as much as we have the time to do so, just to identify with them in their pains, in their hunger, in their deprivation, and let them know that we are standing strong with them and we are providing for them out of much that God has provided for us, because we cannot afford to see them hungry when we are eating.
And what kind of message do you send to them to be hopeful in such a dire situation that looks really unhopeful for them?
Well, we've said to them that being down once is not forever down. Having lost their homes, it's not the end of their lives. We've assured them in prayer and with words of encouragement that God is going to get them back to their settlements, their various villages, towns, and other settlements. And we believe, as you perhaps saw them singing, quite cheerful and hopeful that things will get better for them in the near future.
It's precarious, but the hopes of these people now lie in the hands of other people, in God, the government, and aid from the masses.
We made a passionate appeal for relief materials and for NEMA. So although the responses have been trickling, but we are also making more efforts to ensure that we have more relief materials to be able to deal with the cases of those who are distressed, those who have lost property and family. And so we are also making efforts from our state emergency effort and also mobilizing the community, especially the NGOs and other well-spirited individuals. But basically, we know that our people are more concerned about being resettled back to their original land, and that is why efforts are also ongoing simultaneously in that regard. But the fact remains that we are trying to see how they can be resettled, and those that are displaced may even be more. But most of them are not staying in camps because people are not disposed to this idea of staying in camps. But we definitely have issues that has to do with humanitarian assistance, and that is why the government is working round the clock to ensure that that is done. And we're also looking at creating also, apart from food and shelter that we're bringing to the camps, we're also trying to bring in some Medicare, such that those who are facing problems will also be assisted in that regard. And that's why the Director of Primary Health Care has been here. And we have different agencies from the health, social services coming in. And we are also in the process of setting up a trauma center, because when things like this happen, the people go into medical conditions. So we need specialists, especially counselors, trauma treatment, to be able to stabilize and return people to normalcy.
As they spend their days here, they wonder of what becomes their homes.
Presently, what the report we are having from home is they are putting their cows in farms land.
What indeed becomes of their homes now? I sat down with the governor of the state to find that out and much more. How are you doing these days?
Very fine. I'm doing fine.
Now, considering the state of things and incidents that have occurred within the state, has peace indeed been restored? Because for my time here, I've learned that people are afraid to go as far as the market area. So what's the situation on ground?
Okay, are you talking about this particular one or before this incident?
The particular occurrence.
This particular occurrence? Yes. No, I won't say that that there is trouble, that people are afraid. No, people are not afraid. People are going about their normal duties. We only wanted to be sure that it would not have a spread to other local governments. As you can see, last week we shifted the curfew to 12 o'clock to 12 o'clock. So I am even thinking about it. I'm having an emergency. I'm going to have another review from the security operatives to be sure that we are no longer living in curfew, because apart from the areas where there was trouble around Barrack and Ladi, I was back from Riom yesterday, and I didn't see much of trouble there. In Jos South, we are not seeing much trouble around Jos South. We also want to, sometimes it's confidence when people are moving about their business. So I will say that within the few periods that we came back, peace has been restored to Plateau State.
And from your knowledge and understanding, what is the extent of the damages that's been done in terms of people and properties?
Well, I cannot estimate it now, but our SEMA, that is the State Emergency Management, is up and doing on that, because we had records of the last one, and then we had some records of this new one. So we are adding to it because we've made a request to the federal government, and those requests are in terms of rehabilitating the people, and also for relief materials. You can't get relief materials when you don't have your accurate figures. The deputy governor is in charge of that office, so they are trying to put all the records so that we have complete records to send. But that notwithstanding, even before having that complete records, we've gone to the federal government, and then they are bringing relief materials which we've distributed to those places.
Now, looking at the IDP camps, what are the plans for these displaced people looking forward?
Well, for the displaced people, I've said it, I did that in my speech to the president, that there is a need to reconstruct their places and also take them back to their various places of abode. Because here in this part of the country, when people are IDPs, they feel shy to even stay in IDP camps. What they do is to rush back to find opportunity to get back to their various places, or they mingle up with the society, their relations. And it's not also easy for somebody to carry his whole family to go and keep on another family. So our request is that I think it will be done hastily so that they be relocated back to their various places. And like I said, you cannot recall in a war situation like this. It is difficult for somebody to say, if you are the one, they say they destroyed, you lost your relation, lost all your property in the face of gunshots, and quickly government is asking you to go back to that place. Would you want to go back? You will not want to go back. You will want to have the assurance that the place is peaceful. You want to have the guarantee that your life will be safe when you get back to those places. And that's why that there is that recommendation, which we've also made a request, that before they go back, there must be mob up of arms around that area, because the criminals will still be around. So you have to mob up the arms to clear the environment, to be sure that the people you are taking back are going to be protected. We've had cases where People get back, they move them, they take them back. After a few moments, people come back to attack them again.
And speaking on criminals, what about the culprits? Do we have any information on them and what steps are going to happen?
Well, as I said I'm very happy with the level of investigation that is going on, because they report to me. I'm very happy with it, and I encourage them to, and I've been following the investigation so that at no time will they say government is not following this investigation, because this came as a surprise to me after all the efforts in Plateau State we did for the last 3 years. So I will not want a repeated performance, and because of that, I'm following religiously the investigation. And I'm getting satisfied with the level of investigation that is going on. And also arrests are already made. And if arrests are made, and I'm very confident that more arrests will be made. And our hope is that we will work towards it and see to conclusion, so that we will not have a reoccurrence of this again. Not only in 3 years, but in, I will say, I don't want to say forever, but in a very, very long time.
Forever is a long time, sir.
I may not be in charge again. I may not be in charge. I have a period. So I don't want to guarantee somebody's period. But I'm saying that for a long time, it will take a long time before we see.
Sorry, just really quickly, you said some arrests had been made. Can you give us a little bit of information on these arrests?
They were paraded. Okay. They were paraded here. I think initially about 7 or 8 people, 11 people were paraded. And shortly after, they had more, about 3 arrests again. They arrested some people in Bauchi who were also treating their gun wounds as a result of bullets. So they've added to the number. And again, like I said, several investigations. I don't want to say the level of investigation, but I am very happy with the level and the pressure of investigation.
And just very quickly, sir, what are your stances on the open anti-grazing law?
Open anti-grazing law?
Yes.
Well, we agreed in Plateau State for ranching. We agreed in Plateau State after a lot of sensitization. We've agreed for ranching, and we are processing the ranching. We are not talking about the anti-open grazing law, but we are talking about ranching. What we know is ranching, which federal government has also come in. And I've had time to explain the concept, not only myself, but the committee explaining to all segments of the society in Plateau State, which they said we should go ahead with it. In spite of this, it is not what will discourage us from doing it, because what we are doing is for the progress of our people. It's for the progress of our people, because I am a member of the Herdsmen Farmers Crisis, and we concluded that there's nothing that will solve this problem more than the modern kind of animal husbandry. So ranching is a solution. So we must do ranching if we want to avoid some of these conflicts.
Chant would have it that as I met with the governor, former head of state came to commiserate with the governor and the people of Plateau State. Now, while no particular statement from any party claimed responsibility for the incidents, a statement from the Miyetti Allah claiming the actions were an act of retaliation made its round, and General Gowon had some strong words about it. He also charged the media on responsible coverage in such situations.
Yes. A statement was made, but probably not by Miyetti Allah himself. Now, that is what I understood. But certainly taking it as information it was given, it was very bad, especially the retaliatory one. And then when you see the pictures of what happened to little children, men, women, pregnant women, etc., it is ghastly, it is wrong. And to say that that is retaliatory for killing your cow, no, I think that was bad. But however, we got to find out really whether he was responsible for all that statement. Now, you, ladies and gentlemen of the press, you must take responsibility how you report things. If it is accurate, all well and good. But if it is not, then you have the responsibility for creating the havoc that takes place. Okay?
Well, I mean, for me, it's another form of assurance that government is on top of the situation. It's a crisis situation, and of course, it requires a systematic response from on the part of government. And what a responsible government or responsive government will do essentially is to ensure that it further reinforces security, and that has taken place. There are massive deployments, particularly to those areas that were worst hit, or to those areas that are vulnerable to attacks. Communities, villages, and even hamlets. So while government is also working on strengthening its security apparatus or architecture, on the other hand, there are also ideas and strategies that we are working with, mechanisms that would further build trust and confidence amongst communities or between communities in that respect. So when he talked about, investigations being carried out and all whatnot, is another form of confidence and trust building process. And I think he's bringing that to bear to assure citizens that, look, we wouldn't want to let this happen ever again. We're taking the right or appropriate steps to mitigate against the risk or the potential of a return to violent conflict.
Is there any way you could let us know what some of those steps are, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the next 2 weeks from now, we're going to have a peace and security conference. It's going to be held here in Jos, and we're bringing together all the heads of security agencies, because we also realized that why we had that experience, or rather why we are having to deal with this resurgence of violent conflict, is because there's a gap, possibly, as far as our security architecture is. So we need to sit down together with all the relevant stakeholders, identify what those gaps are, and how we can respond, to that gap, to ensure that that never happens again. So it's a step in the right direction, and we're also hoping that one of the outcomes of that meeting or conference would be a new kind of a social compact between government and all the relevant stakeholders and the citizens on how we can collectively work together to, further deepen the peace and to also, prevent, the possibility of a return or a recurrence of war in Plateau State.
Despite the challenges before these people, from what I've seen on ground, the smiles and the optimism, if you add up the hope in all of these IDP camps, it's as strong as hate itself. A person's character says the most during a time of crisis. There's a lesson of perseverance and resilience from their stories. The people of Jos are not letting their state go down anytime soon. Folake Adesugba in Barkin Ladi Plateau State for Arise News.